I know.
Jay, are you gonna?
I got the nod.
Are you gonna be on Zoom and sitting there just for consistency?
To see. It's not really me. Okay.
Here you go.
The Oz is on there. That's right.
It's a holograph. He's like Tupac.
Exactly. I'm still around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, enough of that. Here we are tonight. It's March 18th, a Monday, and it's the Town of Poolesville Commissioners meeting. In the building tonight are all 5 commissioners, plus Town Manager Wade Yost, Town Assistant Manager Niles, Town Engineer John Strong, and yes, in person, Jay Gullo. Yeah, let's hear it for Jay. Okay. Jeff, if you don't mind, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you for that, everybody. I appreciate that, being here tonight. So we went into closed session for a purpose of interviewing candidates. We've emerged out of closed session. Am I doing this in the wrong order? You give me that look already? Okay, start over. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Black smoke you put up?
Yeah.
Somebody?
Yeah. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a public hearing on proposed ordinance number 226. The proposed ordinance is to add to the Poolesville Code of Ordinances a use classification in the zoning code to address the state of Maryland licensing of cannabis dispensaries. The file for this public hearing contains the following exhibits: proposed ordinance number 226, notice of public hearing, copy of the March 7th and March 14th, 2024 issue of the Frederick News Post containing the notice of public hearing. Any person wishing to do so may now testify or ask questions of the commissioners about the proposed ordinance number 226 after giving your name and address. So we have 2 people that have signed up tonight.
Those are for regular public comment. No one has signed up for the
Public hearing. Headed me off at the pass.
Signed up to speak about the public hearing. I don't know which sheet.
Okay, go ahead.
I looked at the fine print.
That's all right. So we recognize John Waltz to come on up and identify yourself. John, thank you for that. No worries. We'll always find room for you.
Thank you for speaking up.
John Wolves, 17009 Hillard Street, Poolesville. I live across the street from Ed. I looked at the proposed ordinance and I had one observation. It didn't mention public libraries. And our library has a lot of children in it, has children programs. And I know up in Frederick, there's a bank I used to go to. It's now a cannabis operation, and it's where the giant grocery store is. So I was thinking, this empty bank could turn into one. So that was just my comment. Maybe our regulations could include a library. And, as I think I said, our library's in a strip shopping center. Most of the public libraries in the state of Maryland are in separate buildings by themselves, away from a lot of things. So just a
Okay.
observation.
I see town staff scrambling over here, so
But
I
just
know we
comment
talked
on
about
that.
this.
Yes, that is, libraries are part of the state law that requires it to be at least 500 foot away from it. And it was in here, and I'm not, but we will make sure that it gets placed back in here. If it's not, yes. But state law does protect it also.
And my wife wanted me to bring that up tonight, so,
Good job.
Thank you.
all right.
Great. You've earned your gold star for today.
And she'll bake me some cookies or
There you go. That's out of order, Tom Kettler, out of order. Out of order. Yeah, that's fine. Is there anybody else that wanted to speak up and talk? Please come on up and identify yourself and give us your testimony.
Hi, I'm Ann Connor, 17325 Soper Street.
Hi, Ann.
And first off, I didn't read the whole information behind it. In talking with several neighbors and people and just saying, hey, I'm going to this hearing tonight because I want to see what it's about and see what the state requirements are and how our town can or cannot support the state requirements. in terms of having a dispensary. Some basic questions came up from me and from other people. Is it mandated that we have a location that can be designated for a dispensary was number one. Number two, 500 feet is what I've heard is the distance required to be away from primarily schools, but that also would include daycare centers and libraries, and what other kind of facilities do you have to have a distance requirement for a dispensary? So those are the two main questions, is do we have to have one? And secondly, if so, what's the distance? Can our town even support that? And third, which people asked, and I said, I don't know, is are we having people who are applying to bring a dispensary to town?
So I'll let the commissioners talk in a minute, but I will let town staff or town attorney answer, because I think we've addressed all those in the ordinance, but it's all you, sir.
Good evening. So to your first question, we are not required to have a zoning for this, but if we don't have one, then the argument would be made that it can be located anywhere in the commercial zone. So this is an attempt to create a buttonhole that only will apply to this, so that it can't just be anywhere. So that's what the state says, is that if you want to have one, then to your second question, they put very stringent guidelines on the distances. They said it's 500 feet. You can make it less, but you can't make it more. It's because the idea is the state is giving these licenses, and they want to allow the people who get the licenses to have locations. So if a town would say 2,500 feet from everything, then there'd be no spots for them to come. So that's the second question. Your third question,
Are there current applicants looking
Yeah.
to bring in a
my understanding is no one has applied, and we're trying to get ahead of the game so that they just won't be able to come in any commercial zone. As far as the distances, they are very specific about what you can measure the distances from. So we've copied the state law, and we went one step further by adding religious spots to it. So,
Okay.
and we feel that that is a justifiable one, even though it's not in the state law, because the state also deals with liquor licenses, and they measure liquor licenses from religious places too. So we figured we're going to put that in.
Okay, thank you. So tell me if I'm correct, if I share with interested parties. This is preemptive planning to suit our town's needs. However, the 500 feet can be made shorter if necessary?
It can be made shorter. It can only be made shorter, not bigger.
Okay, so that's kind of the area that's a potential going ahead issue,
If there,
which would only be addressed if somebody applied.
well, it can't be made shorter once it is
Okay.
passed.
All right.
The commissioners have the authority. They could say, we don't want 500, we want 200. But whatever they pass is what it is.
What it is, great. Preemptive planning, thank you all for doing that, and thank you for answering the questions.
Jay, would you just mind going over the list of locations that must be a minimum 500 feet away, or
Can you read that?
must be 500 feet away? I think I know the list, but I'd just like to hear it again.
So certainly, so what it says is, no portion of the lot which is used for a cannabis dispensary shall be within 500 feet of the property line of any existing school, daycare, parks and recreation facility, and church/place of worship, and then libraries was also in there as well, but we'll make sure that that is reflected in the text.
Excellent, thanks.
Just to make one thing clear, in case it wasn't clear, this is not like Poolesville, like inviting cannabis dispensaries. We're not really taking an opinion either way. We're just setting up the framework so that if somebody does want to set one up, I mean, and we can't really say no. We can't really, we can't really zone them out of existence either, because we can get like a lawsuit for that. So this is just trying to cover our bases and sort of put some guardrails on it.
And also adhere to what the state guidelines have laid out, so. Okay, very good. Are there any other questions or any other statements to be had during the public hearing portion of this meeting? Okay, we will declare the public hearing closed, and we have a date on this is for the last of comment to come in is
Friday,
this Friday.
which would be, what do you got there?
It would be the 22nd, I believe. But- Yep, the
Yeah, the
22nd.
22nd. So the time period for public hearing, for public comment will close at close of business, Town Hall, Friday, the 22nd of March. Everybody's nodding yes or not nodding at all? Okay, we're good. We'll go with it. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your commentary and the very good questions on this. We appreciate it from both of you. And we'll take those comments under consideration as we move forward. All right, very good. Commissioners' announcements, committee reports. Jeff, can you give us, lead us off, buddy?
Yes, I sure will. The Upper Montgomery County volunteer announcements. The Upper Montgomery County Volunteer Fire Station will have its first annual bunny breakfast on Saturday, March the 30th, from 7:30 a.m. until 11:30. So please attend that with Historic Agri-Reserve Properties. Will have a presentation on March the 21st at 7 p.m. And there's a link on the Poolesville Seniors website. You can click there to register. Also, there's going to be line dancing with Ashley Kelch, and I believe that's over by the Little Presbyterian Church, Spear Hall, on March 22nd at 7 p.m. So again, if you are interested in that, please go to the Poolesville Seniors website and register for that. Also on March the 25th, there's a Maryland, I think it's called Maryland Day. The day commemorates the formal founding of our colony of Maryland, and you can read more about that also on the Poolesville Seniors website. And something that's interesting, in the northern hemisphere, the spring or vernal equinox occurs when the sun crosses the equator, heading north. This event marks the start of the spring season in the northern half of our globe. More on the Poolesville Seniors website. I believe that is it. That's it, thank you.
And that's it for both your personal report as well as the Parks Board?
Oh, no, I have a whole write-up on Parks Board.
Let's go for it.
Okay. So the Parks Board met on March the 6th, and we reviewed a stop sign policy, and there are requirements from the, what's this called, the MUTCD, the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices for Streets and Highways. So there will be, a process will be in place, and maybe Niles can talk about this, about when residents request a stop sign to be placed at a particular location. Similar to how we handle residents' requests when they request a speed bump. Lights at Stevens Park, this will be raised at the Commissioners' meeting today during the discussion of the budget items. Skate park security, and again, I think Niles will probably talk about this. Niles will be meeting, Niles, he's right over there. We'll be meeting with other municipalities regarding the use of security cameras at the skate park. Niles will participate in a tour of the Gaithersburg Skate Park, followed by a discussion of security and vandalism at skate parks. The meeting and tour was set up by Gaithersburg. And also, Niles is working on a trails working group, and I understand we have already a number.
We have about 6 or 7 applications.
Number of applicants, so that's really good. Pardon me. And we also provided input to the comprehensive plan from the planning committee. Sidewalks, several residents reported poor conditions of the sidewalks due to the tree roots uplifting several sidewalk slabs, and I know Preston kind of reiterated the same thing, so that'll have to be taken care of. Tamatoo and other neighborhoods have several places where sidewalk slabs have been uplifted by the tree roots. Community Center in Poolesville, the Montgomery County Council approved placing the Western Montgomery County Community Center in the 5-year CIP, that's Capital Improvement Plan. And I know Commissioner Brown and myself and a number of people from the Fair Access Committee attended that at the County Council chambers, and we were very enthusiastic and supportive. Mr. Jeffrey McIntyre, the chairperson of the Parks Board, announced that he will be retiring from the Parks Board as of the April 2024 meeting. Mr. McIntyre has been serving in a combination of the Parks Board and other town volunteer activities for 19 years. Quite an accomplishment. The report from Preston King, Superintendent of Parks and Streets. The Helmholtz Park restrooms are being rebuilt from scratch. They will be the same design as the footprint as the Elgin Park restrooms. And a resident also asked me when that will be ready for use, and I believe Preston noted that in case it's not ready for use in April, that there will be porta potties provided. So it won't delay the use of the fields. Snowstorm, we made it through, this is Preston saying, we made it through the first snowstorm in 3 years. Everything went well. The new truck was used to spread the salt. The salt spreader is a new electric spreader, because I know the lady from the Poolesville Green has been kind of pushing for more electric appliances. The PFAS filters on well number 2 have been enclosed within a building. The bottom or top lot will be pressure washed and mildew washed off. 96 by 6 by 10 wooden posts at $40 per post. The goal net being a bit too close to the corner, and if the children kick the ball, it would go through the electric information sign, which is out of service, or actually it's not there anymore, will be relocated and rewired. The sign will be located in the area. The new wiring under Wayland Commons will start in late July or August. Niles is working to rearrange events to accommodate the rewiring. The next Parks Board meeting will be on April the 3rd, 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for mentioning the contemporary bulbs that have been
Modern bulb.
put out. Thank you for, who said it first? You said it. Yeah, okay. All right,
gave
never
Sarah
mind.
credit also.
Who, what's that?
Someone asked me, and I said Sarah.
Saying, or a text saying like, you know, have you ever thought about white lights? And I think you chimed in like, yeah, that'd be a great idea. And anyway, doesn't matter.
Contemporary lights.
You want me next?
You're next, sir. No.
The traditional
Yeah.
white.
Discussed, we heard from John Strong and town management about meeting. For new business, we discussed a possible cultural and arts district. The staff asked the planning commission asked the staff to develop an inventory of current businesses and historic property, which would accompany such a district, and we're going to discuss that further at the next meeting. Address if anything needs to be changed, if it's good to go, whatever.
Great, yes.
When Cindy and Dave were, there was some discussion about been identified and kind of lined out and preserved and what.
Put markers up to also delineate where
Oh,
the
that's
graves are.
great, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, county's executive budget proposal was submitted on March 15th, and it did include a dedicated community health center in the proposed community center. And the county's proposed operational budget came out recently and included a line item of $221,000 for WUMCO to continue the vital community health work that they've been doing. So a big kudos to WUMCO and all those who have been working with them to advocate and get that funding. It's making a huge difference. In addition, the county just released a health survey that it releases every 3 years. Mental health was highlighted as kind of an unexpected at how big of a concern it is. So we would love to follow that up with a listening session that Link and the DHS department is working on, Fair Access Committee and DHS together, a listening session at the Maggie Nightingale Library on April 18th. So you're all invited, and as well as there'll be a special invitation to all of the healthcare providers in our area, including mental health care providers. Following up on, I know we've talked about this before, the potential signage for the Rosenwald School. Dale Tibbetts is working with local stakeholders to kind of nail down the language on that, and then they'll bring it to the county executive for a final sign-off. And then we started to talk about Poolesville Day breakfast. I know it's crazy that we're already starting to plan that, but that's where we are. Historically, this has been a space for us to present and advocate for the needs of the county, because many of our county and state representatives attend. And given that this is an election year, we anticipate having higher than average attendance at that event. And so we've been exploring, what do we focus on? We've made some fantastic progress since Fair Access Committee was started. The high school, first phase of the high school is complete. They're going to have the grand opening and move the students back in after spring break. And then they begin phase 2 on the gym. We've had excellent progress on the community center, both capital funding and operational funding. We are making progress on the bubble over the pool with some huge contributions from the town to help push that to the top of the line. So these are some of the ideas that it seems like the pool bubble is already kind of in progress. We don't know that necessarily needs to be the focus of our Poolesville Day breakfast. We've got our grocery store co-op ideas that are gestating. But we talked about maybe there's some equity-related projects that some of our other ag-reserve stakeholders that would be working on, including like the future of the incinerator. But we thought might be a good time to host a community stakeholder listening forum, give us a chance to kind of report on what Fair Access has done and listen to people's concerns. Maybe that could inform some type of a community survey, and then that might help inform us as commissioners to set the priority for the Fair Access Committee for the next, 5-year, the next 5-year plan.
Good, love it.
So
Great, is that it for you?
that's
Anything
it for
else?
me. If there's anything else you wanted to add or Ed.
I'll let Ed do it, and then if there's anything left over, then I'll hit it.
No, I
That's
think
fine.
you,
Good.
you covered it all with the
Yeah.
fair access, and so we definitely want to encourage participation when we do more of our listen and learn. We definitely like to hear the voice of the community, so make sure there's nothing that we're missing when it comes to looking at areas to do advocacy for. In regards to Sustainable Poolesville, there's nothing to the report right now. Our next meeting is March 27th, and so that will be televised, and you're welcome to tune in to that meeting. So other than that, I'll turn it back over to you, John.
Okay, Ed, thanks for that. The only thing I would have to add to anything that my Fair Access colleagues have had to say is that we are working on, at very early stages, on having a Board of Education forum held again. We did one last time, but as I said, it's the earliest possible stages, but we're trying to get our dates slotted. We want to make sure that we have as much attendance as possible from those folks, so we'll see how that goes, but I'm sure we'll all be getting together on that as time goes on. Last one was extremely well attended. The actual people priorities got put in front of the candidates back last time. We did it, what I would say, to much success. So we're hopeful to be able to do that. And I know Kevin and Link are actually working on that right now. Link and I are going to be heading to a Agricultural Day proclamation that's taking place tomorrow down at the County Council office. It's honoring the Willards for their contributions to the ag community over the years. It was something that was we were disappointed that we weren't on the front end of being notified or having any kind of a role in it, but they've been nice enough to remember us on the back end. So we get a free lunch out of it tomorrow, but we are going to go down Inch Smooths and do our usual hitting up the council members and all the important people, trying to, figure out what's going on and what they can help us with. As far as the co-op goes, is going to fit in certain, it's supposed to be designed for certain urban areas. So in the initial reach out to them, they came back and said that here's a web link you can go to apply on behalf of your city or your town. And the number one thing was you had to have 200,000 people within a certain amount of miles nearby. So I thought that was ridiculous. So I actually went down to their office today and waited around, go through to talk to them. This runs in parallel in talking about the co-op. The co-op idea is definitely still the prominent one. This is kind of trying to hit a home run somehow with Whole Foods. But hey, they're the ones that announced it, that they have this, potential to do something. So we're going to follow up with it, and then we'll go from there.
Well, if it's 25 miles, we're good to go.
That's what I said, yeah. There's, we're never mind. It's not good for us for that way. But same reason why things aren't good for us for other people that do voting on our behalf, and we just have to make them see the light. All right, you're right. They could just look at
Battle.
concentric circles, and it's 6 miles away. You're right. There you go. Thank you, John. Good job. I'll be sure to mention that. So that was just my little added tidbit, is that we have this meeting tomorrow. We'll be doing that, and again, the Fair Access is working on a BOE forum for downtown Poolesville. And that's all I have for my time frame. Nothing else from the commissioners?
I'll add one more, and just so you all know, I don't know if any of you are going to the MML dinner tomorrow, so I'm going to attend that. You'll have all the county council members there.
Good.
So,
Yeah, cover for us,
Not able to
please.
go, so I'm really
I'll
glad you'll
cover
be
it
able to
for
go.
us.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Ed.
thank you. Look bigger than you are. Look like the five of us. If you could do that, that would be great.
yeah.
And then also too, I wanted to say Jeff and I read to Poolesville Elementary School.
yeah.
And I got this from them today, and I could read to you page by page. This is some of the most hilarious, well-intended notes from fourth graders that are. I'm going to post them on Facebook because they deserve to be shared. They're so funny and so great and so yeah.
With the best fourth grade spelling out there.
I violated my own rules by giving them all nicknames right on the spot. Like there was a guy who's Car Guy, so I called him Car Guy, and he wanted to make sure that we never lost sight of the fact that cars needed to have gasoline, and Poolesville needed to promote, that gasoline would still be part of the mix. They love the solar array, but he wants to make sure that there's gasoline by the time he got a car. He's a fourth grader. Gotta love it, man. He's a piece.
not driving.
That was a good time, Jeff, right? We had a lot of fun.
There was a young man as I read to the fourth graders at Mrs. Fox at the Poolesville Elementary School, and he asked me why there isn't a car dealership in Poolesville. And maybe it's the same child or his brother.
I can't even tell you some of this stuff, guys. This is some great stuff. Anyway, I'll post it. All right, so thanks for that, everybody. Thanks for your reports. Good stuff. Very, very qualified. Public comment. I know, Jerry, you've signed up for it, so if you want to come on up, give it to us. And by the way, we are going to have a budget discussion, so if you wanted to, I'm sorry, we're setting a public hearing, so you're up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, to tap on to John's point about being 6 miles, from Leesburg, that'd be a good way to, say, hey, look, we need the ferry running so these people from, Leesburg can come over and enjoy our Whole Foods.
Yes, I totally agree. I think it's a great idea. What's that, John?
They should be able to open a grocery store, because they can come over, shop, or we're going home with stuff at the grocery store.
I know, it's a great idea. For once, we should be able to use their proximity to our advantage.
That's right. Jerry Klobakowski, 17300 Fletchall Road, Poolesville, Maryland. I reviewed the revised grant policy that was attached to the meeting agenda. In respect to that, the upper amounts of the major and capital grants of $25,000 and $50,000 respectively are extravagant, especially in view of the increase in the property tax that's going to come, the water and sewer rates that are going to increase, the increase in the trash contract, which is not insignificant, and the addressing of the PFAS and increasing costs of filtration that we'll have to do, and hiring additional town staff. It just doesn't seem judicious to use town's taxpayer money in those amounts for any project. I could see bumping up the total grant to $5,000 with, individual grants of no larger than $1,200, so you could get 5 grants or 4 grants out of it. And just because the unrestricted funds may be above what our suggested minimum carryover each year is, that does not change the fact that that money is Poolesville taxpayer money. And one other point is, I want to just make this with respect to the master plan, because I'm concerned about the well yield usage on page 4 of the addendum to the master plan, which I don't think accurately reflects what the pumping rates would be in time of drought. And one other thing, may I ask, Jeff, were they talking about changing some street names at one time?
Well, there was a discussion about assigning new street names when this gets developed,
Okay,
but that was.
not
I don't
changing
think there was any
existing street
discussion about
names?
changing existing street names.
Okay, yeah, because having gone through that with having one digit in my street address changed, it was a real pain in the butt.
Yeah, that would-
Because the utilities, they wanted stuff even notarized, saying, you're really who you are. All right,
Jerry, as to your second point, staff, do you want to address that?
Yeah, the rates that are established as far as the pumping rates go, they were established by Pat Hammond and myself as we went through and tested every one of the wells for a 3-month period during the drought period.
You mean-
and reduced all the well yields to what you see there.
Okay, well, they seem to agree, well, not quite. Still, they just seem, from what I remember,
Like 6 used to pump 220 gallons per minute.
okay,
And now it's down to, what's it say there?
100.
Yep.
Okay. I still think, I mean, in a drought period, I still remember what Jim Alsabrook told me, you know, that the wells will decrease by 30%, so that's where my concern comes from. All righty, thank you very much. And it's like, you should post something on the door so people don't have a heart attack or a stroke when they come in and see our esteemed town attorney here for the first time in a long time.
Out on the sign would be.
There's no sign, right, exactly.
The digital sign.
One night only, Jay Dillon.
No, right.
Night only, I like
No
that.
opening act.
Thank you. Good point for that.
Limited engagement.
Does anybody else have public comment for tonight? No? Anything else right now? We can still talk about later on if you were intent on talking about one of the subject matters. I can come back to you. All right, thank you. That ends the public comment time period. Approval of the minutes. We had a meeting on March 4th. I believe Sarah was out on that one,
I was listening over Zoom.
listening over Zoom. Okay, so you could definitely vote. So give us, I need to have a motion and a second if we're ready to move forward on that.
I make a motion to approve the meeting, minutes of the Commissioners' meeting of March 4th, 2024.
Second.
Motion made by Jeff, second by Martin. Any questions, abbreviations, changes, corrections, questions? None? All in favor of approval of the minutes of March 4th, 2024, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay. Minutes are approved. New business, FY 2025 budget introduction. We need to set a public hearing for that. What is your recommendation there, Mr. Town Manager?
Let me run through and give a summary presentation of
Thank
what the things we established at our final work session on this Saturday. And you guys have seen some of these already. I think it's important for the public to understand that when we first started tackling this fiscal year, we did have a lot of things happening as far as like the trash contract being changing over and that increase, the hiring of, is a manager here? Restructuring the whole administrative staff inside, there was costs associated with that. Our funding match requirements for grants, there was $1 million for the streetscape, over $500,000 for the wastewater plant we had to come up with to match those grants.
And that was it, was that all came out of FY '23 or was?
No, some of these things started in '23, went into '24, and then are happening in '25 also now, as we're going down the list here. So it's a cumulative effect of
Understood.
all these different items and the new regulations by EPA, you know, for the PFAS stuff we've had to go with, and the changing out of the media and the other filtration units. So the costs are just really kind of adding up on us. So that's just kind of set the stage for all the things we had to tackle going into this budget season this year. And it did make it tough. As we take a look at the general fund revenue itself, this year we are proposing a 0.79 cent increase from the constant rate of 17.81 cents to the 18.59 cents per $100 assessed value. Assessment, actually not value, but assessment. And that increase is going to generate about $130,000 for us. The town does continue to get the 17% income tax. We've seen with the lack of newer residents coming in the last couple of years, it's kind of declined, or actually leveled off, I should say. And we were seeing the income tax actually bypassing and making more revenue than property tax. Now we're about 38% equal with each other again. So that was kind of a different dynamic we've noticed. We still do receive the highway user funds. And then we did take the loss from the general fund as we had to take the revenue source from the water tower wireless antennas, and that goes over to the water and sewer account, which desperately needed some additional revenue. But that was a $200 and some thousand hit to the general fund also on top of the extra expenses we had. So had to factor all that in.
Can I just ask a quick question about the highway user revenue,
Yes.
highway user funds? And didn't that, maybe it was last year, that bumped up quite a bit? And I actually, Jerry has left the room, but I was going to credit Jerry because he was the president of the MML, Maryland Municipal League, during the time when that organization was really pushing, to have it be a bit more equitable in terms of the money back to the municipalities. So I'm glad that got bumped up, and Jerry's not here to, take the credit.
Yep.
Thanks.
That was a fight, yeah, a lot of municipalities
fight.
got in on that one, it was. So overall revenue, it's a little over $5 million for the general fund. And then going out, we have $789,000 goes into general fund projects, and we'll get to those. And then the general fund also funds the water and sewer capital projects, and so we have $566,000 going to that. Operating expenses are just under $4 million. So that at the end of the budget cycle, we're looking at about $8,000 as far as the balance goes. So a very, very tight budget as far as everything goes.
It's very tight.
So we take a look at the operating expenses this year, which does include everything, the town administration, the parks, all the salaries, street lights, street trees, trash removal. It's everything bundled into one. So that is the, basic support for all the town functions. This year, we do propose a 3.2% CPI increase in salaries for the employees. Debt service is actually down. That's a good thing. We only have one debt left, one of the sewer projects we've done. And then we also funded, several community outreach projects, Poolesville Days, fair access, engineering, both development and, any projects we have going on, and then community events also, everything that happens with Friday on the Commons and those things. As far as the capital projects go, so like I said, $789,000 goes towards the general fund projects. And I won't bore you with looking at all of these things, but several different things. A couple of new things that we're looking at this year was support for the outdoor pool bubble and grocery co-op. So there's funding set aside for both of those projects to help kickstart it and show that we have skin in the game for at least the outdoor pool one. Mowers and tractors, that's a 7-year cycle. Trucks are a 10-year cycle. We just found out that maintenance past those points it costs more money to keep the truck maintained rather than just replace it. So pickleball courts, Stephen Park lights, you mentioned that earlier, Jeff. Those are into the out years, but we are accumulating money for these projects, and grant monies are also in, requesting grant monies for these projects to move forward also. And then we also are accumulating funds, like the highway user funds. They accumulate directly for the paving projects, which in FY '26 we'll be doing another one. And it's about $800,000 every other year to do the paving projects. On the revenue side for the water and sewer, we're just a little over $2 million, which most of it all comes from user fees. This is the first time in a while, there's no grant from the general fund expected. And of course, that extra funding from the wireless communications definitely helps that. $75,000 is actually going towards one of the PFAS filtration units. And since I've been doing the budget over 25 years, that's the first time any money, the water and sewer fund was able to even contribute anything towards any capital project. So that's a really good thing also.
Is that $75,000, is that for replacing the medium?
It's that, as well as do the filtration units also that they've not been purchased yet. So it's just goes for the remediation as the category.
Oh, okay,
So,
thank you.
and again, that fund balance is $12,000 for the year. Now, we will be doing a 2% water increase this year also, as part of adopting the budget. For the water operating expenses, and it's everything from the budgeting for the salary for the billing clerk and the meter readings and everything like that, operations with electricity, the chemicals, everything it takes to make things happen. Sludge hauling was down a little bit. Too bad Jerry left, because he would have been happy with that. He talks about this every year. And kudos to Matt Hager, our superintendent. He's done a great job in working with the coagulation chemicals and getting the water content down to make the sludge lighter, and he saved us some money by doing that. And then the additional water testing we had to do through EPA for the PFAS it's very costly. So that definitely was an added cost for us. And then we are adding in additional personnel, not only in the general fund, parks and streets categories, but also in the water and sewer operations. And everybody gets the 2% increase. So.
Even the
When does
commissioners?
We're going to double your salaries.
Oh, thank goodness.
When does the denitrification plant go online?
About midsummer.
Okay, can we like wave flags or something?
Sure.
And also the unveiling of the water tower, I'm holding my breath on that one as well.
You'll be holding your breath at the wastewater plant, not.
Good point, good point.
I get it.
Okay, so in the capital projects, so we have a total of $641,000 for capital projects this year. And of course, Alpha Media and PFAS remediation, we talk about that. That's, two of the biggest drains on the overall prices. And we are saving money up for replacing generators, pending the wastewater facility, once it is completed, construction, do the pipe gallery. We have equipment, 10-year truck cycle for the water sewer guys also. And then use of the American Rescue Funds, which we'll talk about later on tonight too, for both sewer line repairs we've done and then replacement of some water lines. So in the overall budget, like I said, just kind of rerun it, 0.79 cent tax increase, 2% water increase. We still maintain adequate reserves, just barely over our 17.5% now. The document will be available online once we set the public hearing, and we'll do our advertising and put it out there. So we do need to set a public hearing. April 8th would be the appropriate time.
When you said that we're just barely over our 17.9%, does that mean our reserves are declining?
They are, yes. Because we've been
Is there
using the
something
money
we
and
can
doing these
pinpoint?
projects.
Or
Yep,
is it just a collection of things that,
exactly.
oh,
Yep.
all right. I had one more question. It was a couple pages ahead. And it had to do with the possibility of the community center. I know that's not a done deal yet. Would we donate the property to Montgomery County to build a community center, or would they rent this property from the town of Poolesville? Or,
I don't know if it's really defined yet. A lot of times there's like a 100-year lease for $5 or whatever it is.
Okay.
Type of a thing, so.
Yeah, I don't see us just flat out giving it away. I don't see that happening. We also have obligations under which we made the purchase for that property many moons ago. So we're going to have to sort that out, but I fully believe the town staff's going to be working with facilities management and facility acquisition to talk about that with Montgomery
right.
County.
I think
They deal with this stuff all the time. They're considered to be unbelievable privilege and advantage that there might be a possibility that could even be municipally owned. Usually they might end up having to buy private property. They have to go through a lot. So we'll let these guys do that. We'll figure it out. But the commissioners, there's going to be a money implication. The commissioners are going to be involved.
Oh, definitely. Yes.
Wait, do you need a motion to set the public
Yep.
hearing? I make a motion, we set the public hearing for the for the budget for April 8th,
Right, the FY25 budget
25 budget.
for April 8th, 2024. So we have a motion made to establish that public hearing. Do we have a second?
I'll second this motion.
Second from Ed.
Second.
Anything else we need from this, or any other discussion with the commissioners on it so far? I mean, I do want to say that I'm really appreciative of all the commissioners taking the time to really dig into the budget, pay attention to the meaning for it, get the overall scope of the big picture, and also address the little things. So you guys have done a great job on that, probably better than any group I've been with, so thank you.
is it possible to, as I see on this summary slide, the 2% increase in water rates, then there was another increase, right? The
Property tax rate.
property tax rate thing.
So,
Is there any way to just kind of say, well, the average townhome owner will have this much extra, the average person who lives in Westmont's going to have that much extra, just so it's something really clear? I don't find this to be, I mean, this is obviously a number, so you can calculate it out. But I just would like to see something that's a little easier to understand for a resident like me.
Well, the Wade gave us a talking point at the meeting, and it was like, for every $500,000, it's like $500 a year, $600 a
Yeah,
year.
I can certainly, so we're going to put together an ad anyways tomorrow to go online and advertise a public hearing. I could definitely add something in with that. That makes it very clear and
I
transparent.
mean, and this is, I know it's tough, but I know you do pay attention to your taxes. And if you can go right on Montgomery County property tax, look at the assessed value of your property and add that multiple in there and figure out exactly how much that increase is. And it is really tough to do that over the course of a town that has $250,000 townhouses and
Oh, yes,
$2.5 million
yes,
houses.
yes.
So I think, and, we'd have to figure out like, how many townhouses versus how many single-family homes, and
Yeah.
what price ranges. Very difficult to come up with an average, but we'll let your wordsmithing come up with that and talk about it. But just to the general public, period, that's all that information is available right on the Montgomery County Property Tax website. You can do the math. If you need help with it, contact Town Hall. All right.
Else,
So.
Contact
Contact NOS, right, exactly. I mean, we could do it right here if we needed to, but I'm not going to do it for all 2,000 houses tonight. All right, so we have a motion, we have a second on that, setting the public hearing. All in favor of the motion as put out there, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Nope. Okay, we have a public hearing set then for April 8th. Thank you for all the background information. Again, thanks to all the commissioners for being prepared and really diving in so they feel like you can talk to any of our residents about the budget and know what we're talking about. That's appreciated. All right, very good. Who's up next for the Westmont Waterline Replacement Program?
Mr. Strong.
So, man, that's really loud. So what we had a bid opening for the project that's in the Kohlhaas segment of the townhouses where we're going to replace the water lines. Worked with Wade and also the water department. And as many of you know, some of the water line through there is a little bit fragile and has met its life expectancy. We had a pre-bid meeting on that project. We had a total of 10 contractors attend, and then we did receive 10 submitted bids. The opening was February 26, 2024 at 11:30. The following are the base bids. Flippo Construction, they were $1,299,660.77. And then we had fees that ranged all the way up to $2,598,200. We did have one contractor who failed to go ahead and submit an addendum with his bid, so that bid had to be tossed out. And that was rejected, and that particular bid was $1,976,200. We talked with the various companies that they submitted that they had worked with. Flippo Construction, although you probably haven't seen them around, they do extremely large projects, and they're familiar with this type of work. They do a lot of work in DC, PG County, also Fairfax County. So based on that, we looked at it. Their references were good. We feel that they are the most responsive bidders. And based on that, we would recommend Flippo Construction Company Incorporated be awarded the contract for $1,299,660.77. We also then incorporated an increase for poor conditions or something that's unforeseen, which brings the total cost as a contingency up to $1,429,700. The engineering administration, we estimated to be at $27,000. It's a 180-day project, and it's going to take a lot of involvement. We also know that they'll probably be having some contingency issues with the paving, and that's the reason for it, because sometimes you're not exactly sure where those lateral lines go. So eventually the project will be, they'll run a parallel line so that nobody's without water, except for maybe an hour or two when they're changing over the lateral to the new, from the old lateral to the new lateral connection. It seemed to be a very thoughtful way of doing it, and that's the way I envisioned it to take place. So based upon that, the total amount of the project, including the engineering, would be $1,456,000 is what we recommend. Any questions?
I mean, I have general questions before we get into the actual funding of it. So John, what experience do we have with Flippo?
They've never worked in town before, but they are a WSSC recognized contractor. They do work in various jurisdictions. They've done good work for the contacts that we had, and we talked to them about it.
And the quality level of their bid presentation?
It was good. It was
Okay.
good. Yeah, we actually, I think they have 250 employees total. And are well thought of.
Got it. And the second question too, and this is for either Wade or John. So give me an idea what the payment schedule is on this for these guys. How does the money get doled out for them?
Typically, they're going to go ahead and submit a monthly invoice that'll come in, be processed, looked at, and also
Compared to actual work completed?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Right. Yeah, they don't get paid for just
saying they did it?
They did it. Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
Now, all bills come in, they go to John first, and then he signs off of them, the work's completed, and then they come to town hall, and then we process it from that.
Okay.
Does the money come from the American Rescue Fund?
So that's what we'll get into right now. You ready to?
That's fine. Yeah, no, that was my next question. That's fine.
So yes, we
I
have,
another question about replacing the laterals. Does that require digging up private property?
negative. It'll all be in public right away.
it's where the lateral goes into the main, so they can establish a new connection.
Okay, thanks, thank you.
Okay, so we do have $1.85 million in American Rescue Funds that had to be spent by December of '24, or under contract to be spent. So what we'd like to do, we also had a second bid for doing more of Wooten Avenue all the way down the center of it, replacing all the valves, but it was almost the same price as this was, so way out of our scope. What we would like to do is award the contract to Flippo and then use those same prices that he has right there, and just do as much as Wooten Avenue as we can, from Fisher on back, which would take it out of the realm of where the circle's gonna be, potentially be, once Streetscape does.
You mean Wooten?
Have this same contractor, because they have the best price,
They also-
add on this
And they're
work.
mobilized on site, and so, yeah, just roll
And
with
just-
it and.
Just to let you know that when we bid the Wooten Avenue, we obviously had the bid for the Wooten Avenue. They were the low bidder on that too.
Okay.
So that's Wooten Avenue from Fisher towards Spates Hill?
Correct.
Okay.
Right. And so how far we get down there, we really don't know yet, how much of the contingency funds are gonna be used or not used. And we're also making interest on the money while it's sitting in the bank right now, so, it'd be a little bit more than 1.85, but we need to spend all the money out, so we would like to just move forward with the expenditure of that fund. So if we could have a motion to award the contract as well as use the expenditures, back.
Use whatever remaining from that
American
fund
Rescue Fund.
towards that. Okay.
So it's 3 sections.
So the engineering question, or, but would a private resident, if their water line breaks from where that connection point is to their home,
That's a town's
it
responsibility.
is the town's
Yeah,
responsibility?
because we're not going beyond the curb. So the best way to think about it, there's a valve that sits outside the person's house, right? And everything on the other side of between that valve and towards the house is the owner's responsibility.
Like where it goes through the wall of the house and into?
No, not into the house, the property line.
Oh, property, so that's what I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
from the property line,
To the house,
house?
belongs to that, belongs to that.
if something breaks there, then it's the resident's responsibility.
That's right.
Fix it.
What we're doing is inside between the water main and the property line. Okay, so if this is the main, then there's a valve here, and then the house is here.
Right.
So between here and here is where they're gonna go ahead and do the work.
So I get that. I guess my question was, if that needs to be replaced because of where the pipeline was laid, is that correct? Then is it more likely that all the parts
Great
going up to
question.
the people's homes
Great
will also
question, great
eventually
question.
need to be
No, because
replaced?
it's two different materials.
Okay.
So there's a copper line that comes out of the house that goes all the way to the ductile iron main.
Got
The
it.
ductile iron main, although it's not in that bad a condition,
It's not on the bedrock, it's not the same material.
it was laid right on the bedrock.
Okay,
and That's
okay,
our
okay.
biggest problem right there. And it is really, when the cold air hits the water tower, freezes it up high,
Right.
it changes the condition of that pipe quickly. Copper is much more malleable, and it doesn't really impact it like that.
So residents shouldn't be worried about them
No.
facing the same process of having to replace.
All the problems we have with
Okay.
our water main breaks are with the ductile iron and not with the copper.
Fantastic.
Right.
Thank you for clarifying that. Appreciate that.
That's a great question. Anybody else, questions for John or Wade, Niles, Jay, anybody? Jeff?
What's the timing?
Well, I will issue, assuming that you all give go-ahead, I'll issue a notice notice of award tomorrow. And then typically it takes 10 to 15 days for all the contract work to be done. Then shortly thereafter, we would go ahead and notify them that their notice, what we call a notice to proceed, which tells the contractor to start, he's under the clock. And we have 180 days for them to complete the work.
So it'll all be done during the warm weather.
That is the plan, yes.
That's the plan. Key thing is, because there's concerns that some of these brass fittings and things that actually don't use brass anymore, but some of the fittings that had to be used are kind of difficult to get at times.
Yeah, the supply chain still exists, and it's a headache sometimes for them to come up with the parts. Right now, it's not the big parts, it's the little parts about this big.
3D
John,
printing.
One more question. I know, and I'm like, whose car? I didn't drive, so it's not me.
Sometimes my car goes, please don't be me, please don't be me.
It looks like,
Someone's trying to steal your car, Jeff.
no, they're teasing you. So I know that when we were looking at trash, the lowest bidder ended up kind of being a problem. Like, we weren't good quality. And this company is the lowest bidder. But you
Correct.
say that they've been the most responsive and really high quality work. Can you just give an example to us of like, in what ways they've kind of built that trust up in terms of being responsive or already demonstrating that they would be a good partner to work with?
It's based upon what other jurisdictions, responses that other jurisdictions have had with them and
Okay.
interaction
So
with them.
they've said that they've been a responsive partner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Part of the process of the evaluation I go through is, first of all, we tell them, you got to submit us 3 contractors that you've worked with and similar type work. And then we go ahead and make calls, speak with them. One of the questions we always ask them, would you hire them again? And the answer is yes. Okay. Then we also look around other projects to see what type of work they've done, if they've been responsive, if they've done good work. And the answer for them has been, yes, we'd be happy to have them work for us again. And having done this for a period of time, sometimes contractors aren't real careful about who they put down for a reference, and they come back and say, no.
Yeah, if you're still happy with your contractor when they're done, I feel like that's a good sign.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's great.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate
And
that.
WSSC, your opinion their opinion holds heavier weight or lighter weight? Can't say it on record. You still vet out whatever they say?
Yeah, but yeah.
All right, good.
Just because they're a reference contractor doesn't mean
Understood.
And it also depends on, one of the things that you have to jump on it real quick, from my standpoint, is, you can have good crews and bad crews. And if you have bad crews, the project doesn't run well. If you have good crews that we have, Tom's always been lucky enough to have, they've done a good job. Some of the players, I think this project was just so big for some of the smaller players that we normally work with. It was beyond their ability to perform. And also, to be truthful, everybody's still busy. That's one of the reasons that you saw the prices where you saw them, pretty they went kind of,
They're much
Up-
higher than
up
we
to
thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
yeah,
But, and they have availability to start when we need them to start.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, any other questions? No? Martin, do you want to give us a motion?
I will try. I make a motion that we award for contract 100.062 a total of $1,456,700, which is $1,429,700 for the contract, and then for engineering administration, $27,000, and then the total I said previously, and the remaining money to come from the American Rescue Fund to be applied for restoration down Wooten. Is that?
Yeah, down Route by the same contractor.
Yeah. Does that work?
Is that a long one, but can
It'll
you
work
get it?
perfectly.
Yeah, good.
Minutes will reflect it. Yes, good.
Right, got it. You'll get it
That might
right.
be the hardest motion I've ever made.
All right, I second.
Motion made by Martin, second by Sarah. Any other questions from the commissioners?
Oh, I do have one more question, because Wade said that we're going to do 2 projects.
So he did address that in his motion, that it's going to be, we're awarding for the 1456700 for this initial proposal, plus we are going to be granting them the balance of the ARP money that the town has to allow the company to move down Wooten Avenue and to complete the same work down Wooten Avenue.
Correct.
So that's the 2 projects. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor of approving the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Okay, thank you, John. Thank you,
Welcome.
Wade. Thank you, Niles. Thank you, Jay.
Thanks, John.
Appreciate it. All right, that's a good one to get done. Appreciate that. Oh, gosh, backyard chickens. Here we are, back on the menu again. So,
Where Jay came.
These ones are not on the
right,
menu.
that's why Jay's here. Oh, did I subconsciously
These
said
are
that joke?
like-
These are
These
back
like
on the menu.
family members.
Right, exactly.
Need to be a colonel.
Yeah, maybe they're eggs.
They are back, it's back on the agenda, not the menu. I guess I'm hungry. All right, so, you guys, everybody knows where we are. Wade, give us an update real quick and tell us what staff recommends, or just have a recommendation.
Sure. As you recall, last meeting, we had several residents come forward and request changes to the setback requirements, number of chickens, and things of that nature. And we knew that this was probably going to happen. You know, we had a good test run with last year, what we've done so far. So we did sit, Niles and I, and we sat down and looked at what other municipalities, what they're doing, kind of what we face right now, people's comments, and overall how the permitting process has gone coming along. And staff recognizes the limitations of the 100-foot setback and would recommend considerations to reduce it to a 50-foot setback from other property dwellings, other structural dwellings. Staff does recommend maintaining the 15-foot from property lines as currently allowed. And then as far as increasing the potential number of chickens, we definitely think that, and relative in what other, folks do around us, Gaithersburg and Annapolis and Rockville and some other municipalities, they do keep them limited to 5 or 6 chickens. And so for the size properties we're talking about, quarter acre, half acre properties, 3/4 acre properties, we're saying maintain that 6. Possibly anything up to 1 acre or larger could go to a higher number, maybe 10 chickens. So that would be staff's recommendations.
Great. Any other changes that have come out of all the discussions and further conversations? And yes, I think we all agree that we've had a year-long look at this with very little, some individual situations, but nothing else beyond that. We appreciate all the guidance we've had so far on this, and we appreciate the recommendations as well. So, everybody, town commissioners, this is your chance to weigh in. Potentially, we could even vote to make these changes tonight and to enact this if we wanted to.
No, we'd have to go through a zoning change.
Another public hearing, too?
It's got to go back to the planning commission.
Oh, so it's a
public hearing.
recommendation.
It's
I'm sorry.
zoning.
I meant to say.
Does it
we
have to go
meant-
back to the planning?
Is this a zoning ordinance?
It is a zoning ordinance.
So it's a recommendation that we would be, that we recommend it goes back to the planning commission
We would draft it up, and then.
as per the changes that we would
Right,
discuss and agree
so-
on.
And you're good with that right now, we'd take it to the planning commission to get their input, because it's a zoning ordinance. They would send it back to you, and you would have a public hearing, like the cannabis ordinance. Same process.
It just seems like we've done this so many times, so I apologize for trying to skip a jump in this. Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question.
Ed said-
Would this reduction to a 50-foot setback allow the applicants who have been turned down, like, would this essentially address the majority of the situations, especially for our quarter-acre
Good enough.
residents?
This would address a lot of them. A lot of the situations we've seen where people either haven't been able to or have had some other issue, it's primarily because of the 100-foot adjoining dwellings. Most of them, in the cases I'm thinking of, it would allow it if it was the 50-foot.
Okay, and then,
Sorry, I just want to say, I don't think there's any case that I'm aware of where,
where they still wouldn't resolve it?
in which I've talked to.
Okay. And then the 15-foot from property line, do we have a sense of like what it is in Rockville or?
No, but I do have a personal sense of, when I lived in Chesapeake, the guy next to me had his about 10 feet away. And during the summer months, I had to let him know that he needed to clean his cage out. Now, and also say, that's not the normal. I think that most of the people are going to be responsible chicken owners. But unfortunately, when we write this legislation, we have to take into account that one person and protect the property rights of the person next door. And so
Okay.
we keep, from that perspective is what we came from, to keep it to the 15-foot.
Okay.
I'm okay with the way, with staff recommendations. I mean, this seems like it's, we've sort of seen how it went for a year, and the folks came back and they made a good case, I think, and everything seems logical, and you sign off on it. So when the time comes, I'm willing to make a motion to send it back to the planning commission.
I think we could do that right now. If you're okay with the changes that they recommended, that would be the draft that would go to the planning commission. You could talk about it at the next meeting, that you can get it on an agenda, and then come back to you.
Do you
think
need
the
a
only
motion,
thing-
Or do you need consensus?
I'm okay with just a consensus for the idea.
Well, I think we have the consensus for that, but I'd also still like to talk about the amount of, I think the one part where Wade and Oz were a little fuzzy was the amount of chickens for the acreage breakdown. And I think that's something that we have to be careful with. And I think there's been a case made by some of the people that have provided testimony that that's not an issue, but I think continuing, we've already dipped one toe in the water, we can dip the whole foot in the water. I would say that it's, I'd be concerned about allowing more than 6 chickens on any property, especially 1 acre and below. 1 acre and above, if somebody wants to make the case to me that they can support more chickens, I'd be willing to listen to it, but 1 acre below, it's got to stay at 6 chickens. I've had chickens, I know what the deal is.
Isn't that how it's written?
Isn't that what they're recommending? 6
Well, yeah,
for under 1
no,
acre?
they are,
and
but-
1 acre or more?
But is that a firm recommendation? Because I think we kicked around on the 1 acre, it being 10 chickens, 12 chickens, or no increase in chickens above 1 acre.
Yeah, 1 acre above, up to 10 chickens.
Okay, because that 12 was what was proposed by
Was it?
residents at one
Right,
point or another.
right.
So, not to be nitpicky about, 1 or 2 chickens, but still. So, are you guys okay with staff recommendation for 10 for 1 acre and above, maintaining 6 at 1 acre and below, or below 1 acre?
I am.
Yeah, I'm okay. Again, this is just a recommendation. They can talk about it.
And then we can go ahead and just slate it for next February to have another discussion.
We're right, exactly.
Just
It'll be,
keep it as a regular?
So,
Every
yeah,
year.
let's hope not.
Review.
Let's hope not. Hopefully this is the last
I
one.
think we have consensus.
Yes, I do.
We have consensus.
okay.
Yep.
All right, so I make a motion that we send the,
I don't think we need a
No,
motion.
no, we're done.
We're
I think it's
good.
good.
you don't need a
Yep.
motion? Okay.
Nope, that's it.
Motion turn the heat up.
Yes, seriously.
I know. I feel like I feel literally cold air
That means the
blowing on
meeting's
us.
supposed to be over,
Give me a
okay?
second.
Yeah.
Niles wants to freeze us out here.
That was a good strategy, Niles. I'm going to keep this meeting short.
Yeah, John's putting his hat on. That's it. Ann's had enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Always good seeing you.
Appreciate it. Good seeing you.
May the heat
Thank
be
you.
with us. Right? We got one wine.
Okay, guys, thanks for that, developing the consensus. Appreciate it. Jay, thanks for the good legal advice there. Grant Policy Procedures Review. You can click on it. It's a live piece. Go ahead. Give it to us.
Okay, so, tuned it up a little bit more. Made it a little bit more conservative, and so it gives you guys something to discuss. You know, we talked about sports organizations and how would they will be encouraged to rely on other types of fundraising rather than coming to the town for grants. Ed's language. We really want to stress the importance of public benefit also, and Jay weighed in on this one here. And I also included, and this is a point of discussion tonight, all projects must be based within the corporate limits of Poolesville. Now, we had some discussions on Saturdays when we were discussing the grants, and so I just put it in there, and it'd just be a good point for us to, yea or nay. And then as far as all the grants in general now, they are going to have to submit receipts or ask for reimbursements, just so we make sure that we don't overexpose ourselves to any applicant for any project going forward, so.
Good.
Those are the basics of the changes that were made from the last time we looked at it.
I don't want to open up a can of worms on this, but just a general discussion point for the commissioners. Do we find it necessary to create, and have we given out capital grants from $25,000 to $50,000 before? I know that we've established line items for like HMD and, you know, these continual funding mechanism for certain groups that are affiliated with the town. But is there a need for that grant for that $25,000 to $50,000? I'm worried about like opening the door for, and I you know, like Jay, you've worked with other towns. Tell us would other towns consider a grant of that size for some sort of applicant?
My other towns, so you fall in the middle, right, of the size towns.
Yeah.
And even the larger size, like the county seat in La Plata, they don't do this. They have a nonprofit that is affiliated with them, and they provide a set number of dollars to them, whether it's $5,000 or $10,000, and they let this nonprofit make the decision on what the grants would be.
Like a Friends of Poolesville group?
Right, you know, so that they're not involved, but they're involved in funding it. And the way that they never give them that type of money that it could become a problem. Because, right, they avoid it that way so that the things that come in are, we need a new sign for our community entrance, we need a new garden bed for the community garden. They're of that level where it never creates a problem because everybody's happy. The Boy Scout projects type of thing. And that's the biggest problem you have is that, you know, you're appropriating money basically on a case-by-case basis, and you hope that it has a public benefit. That's my thing, to say it has a public benefit. But whatever you decide is a public benefit is a public benefit. That's how the law kind of works. So most towns don't have the financial wherewithal to give that kind of money away. That's what it really comes down to, is that what was a penny on the tax rate?
0.79, 130,000 increase.
$130,000, a $50,000 grant is, what, 40% of that? And so they just don't do it.
Right, and you know, I appreciate that too, and but I think it should be clear too, we've never done it either.
Right.
So I get that. I'm just wondering if there was a reason why. I mean, and I understand, like, I've been going along with this too the whole time. Like, okay, it makes sense. We have multiple tiers, and if somebody were to come to us with a special project that was really near and dear to, and it meant something that if we put 25 into it, that we could get, you know, 500,000 out of it, okay, that kind of makes sense. But I'm wondering, you know, and I just want everybody else's opinion on it too, where they would stand or what they think about it.
I guess I have a question on how did organizations like HMD become a line item, and how would HMD be different? They're a nonprofit, like private, they have their own board, right? How is that different than a nonprofit like Riverworks? Or is there a separate application process to become a long-term partner of the town of Poolesville and have some type of line item capital funding?
I would say every situation's different, you know, on that, and that's, I mean, you raised an excellent point, because we kind of, you know, because HMD owns property that's important to, like, you know, the town, overall town mission, I think that's how we decided that we would be partners with them. We knew we were going to be partners with them anyway when we sold the property to them.
Sounds like you're literally repeating the same story of Riverworks.
I agree.
Sold a historic property to nonprofit, and
Then gave them the money back? Yeah. No, I,
Expensive to sell property.
yeah. I didn't, nobody made a commission on that, I don't.
so I guess
think.
I'm trying, I actually.
Yeah, how do you get
really-
into the line item world, right? And stay out of the grant world?
Right, like I think they are such a unique, I don't think we would hear grants of this amount on a regular basis. Like, I don't think we should. I think that Riverworks is in the same space as HMD. I think that's, what I'd really like to do is see them come in and sit down and talk about what type of public-private partnership are they really envisioning, and give us a chance
The only
to
difference
define what that
that I
is.
might suggest is that it feels to me like HMD, and maybe I could be totally wrong, doesn't have the ability to create their own revenue unless they get donations. And I think I should separate locals from Riverworks. And I believe that they will have an opportunity to generate revenue, but I can't say that for a fact. To me, that might be a dividing line.
HMD does have the ability to create revenue, and they do create some revenue. They do ghost tours where they charge.
Oh, okay.
They at one point, correct me if I'm wrong here, Mr. Kettler, but at one point they had a speaker series that there was a small fee to get into, and then they get donations, members. All right? John? Yeah, they charge the
Oh,
city
yes.
schoolhouse. So they do have, they make millions each year.
I mean, but just getting back to Sarah's question, I mean, I think it's a proper idea. And I've been around as long as anybody has, and I'm trying to figure out why,
Like
how do.
historically, how did you
Yeah,
see
how
it?
does someone move into line item versus, I mean, I think what happens is, at least, and maybe I'm wrong on this, the commissioners decide philosophically that there are organizations that are going to be funded to some degree every single year that are, either informal public-private partnerships, or that these organizations are nonprofits that are helping the town accomplish certain goals. I mean, one could say the same thing about the chamber to some degree. And even though we did the town. What's that?
Economic development, that's what.
Yeah, economic development, right.
Is and H&D, they're all.
So I don't know what brings it to that, and I don't know if that usurps the idea of having say, getting rid of the taller grant category and having, if you need more than $25,000 from the town for any reason, then
Have a special
you
conversation.
have a different conversation, right?
Right.
And and do you decide to turn it into some sort of a yearly or every 3-year funding mechanism? I don't know. I'm open to conversation. And hey, you guys are sitting silent. Anything to contribute?
I mean, it could be something where it's left open-ended. Any, funding request larger than $5,000, would be like a special request, like not a standard, like not a standard category.
I definitely like that. No, I think the 25 to 50 came out of our first meeting. I was told to go ahead and add another category, a third category in.
Oh, I get it. I understand why we got there too, but I am, it is a clear question. I mean, Jerry, I was thinking about it beforehand, but of course he's right there with watching us and watching our dollars, watching the taxpayer dollars. So it does make sense to decide if that's the kind of categorization that we're looking for.
I'm okay with getting rid of the higher tier, and then trying to find a way to, for very limited people, like you were saying, Sarah, like if, to have discussions at getting a line item if they're like a, partner to the town and they're doing good work, economic development, whatever. So yeah, I'm okay with that tier going away, 25 to 50.
I mean, as we look at our new comprehensive plan and our goal to really become a center for art and music, I think
Broader picture.
there's a big picture partnership to be built. That I think,
Che, you know something about private partnerships, right?
I've created a few of those, and I mean, that's tricky because typically the government wants to get rid of the responsibility, right? Because it's a responsibility to deal with whatever that issue or action is, and they don't want to deal with it. And so they give that away and in return provide something, whether it's money or space or whatever, for someone else that can deal with the details. Because everything we've dealt with, whether it's what we did the seniors, kind of the same thing, that was a great community thing. They were in here, they're doing that, but eventually it was like, we can't run your senior thing, so you're going to have to do that. The genesis of the program, since I've been here, was you wanted to create a line item in a budget from a budgetary standpoint, not from a what do we want to do with it standpoint, but we wanted to create, let's set some money aside from our income, because that's what you're budgeting, from your income, and this is what we're going to program for grants. You still have a fund balance that's not budgeted, right? You still have the savings, you still have the back pocket that you don't budget every year, that if something or somebody or a project you wanted to do wants to do it, they would be able to come in and make a proposal to you, and you could make a special allocation, and you could amend the budget and do a special fund for that, and it would create a requirement of a lot of effort on somebody's part, which is I think you'd want to do with a 25,000. They got to come in and sell you on this, and it's going to require a budget amendment and a public process and things like that. And so it would be worthy of it if you did that, because you took it through the process. And it's not going to come out of everyday revenues. So it would be special. You're sending your savings on it. Whereas your grant program is programmed out of your everyday revenues. So that one was where we're going to set the 5,000 or whatever the number is aside, because we know we're going to have the Eagle Scout. We know we're encouraging that, right? Because if you set it aside, people are going to apply for it. So I think that, that gives me a lot more comfort if it was these big things are done on a big basis, and the small ones are done the way you used to do it, guys. And that might make it a little more scrutiny involved in how the money gets spent.
I see an
More
example
community
of that
buy-in.
might be, eventually when we get to whatever the point is, that the town of Poolesville might want to contribute as kind of, wrap money to get the co-op going. I think the co-op would be a big benefit, not only to the residents of Poolesville, but, the immediate area. So I kind of see that as what you were describing.
Yeah, it moves into
Kind
the
of a one-off.
special category, right. Individual initiative. I can't even say it's it has to be an initiative that is derived through some sort of public process, I would say. So, are you guys okay with, staff? Any issues? I know we tell you to do something and we tell you to not do it now. Any issues with having to just removing that last category? Do you foresee anything that coming up that would do it? This is
No, not at all, actually.
This is not a PR move. This is like, you just, the idea of.
Put it in there to remove it?
Well, yeah, I wanted to be said that I wanted to do that, yeah. But no,
You're going
I
to
don't-
campaign on that.
Right, I will be, yeah.
I'm the one that really.
Right. I did the lights. I did the contemporary lights. No, you guys, so this is why we brought this discussion. This is why we've had this, has been ongoing. This is kind of came out of itself from the budget discussions as well. So it's a good piece and it's a good discussion.
I actually love the idea of inviting Riverworks to come in and put forth a case for why they should be some type of line item part of our budget, because I do see them as an organization pursuing the goal that the town wants, but that we don't have the resources. For
sure.
Nor do
Oh,
we
yeah.
want the responsibility of doing.
No question.
And so I think if we can be a regular contributor, supporter of that,
Mm-hmm.
kind of subcontract it out to them to do, and I think we'd be able to justify the amount of those funds better if it had support, if there's a public hearing and we heard from the community, and if there was broad community support for it.
No, I totally agree. I think anybody that falls into that special category is going to have to turn into a true partner where the funding and the requests are generated probably through some sort of report/white paper, and then it becomes something that overall the commissioners start banning about beyond outside of the budget world. So.
Okay, well, we got that out of the way. I have one more possible discussion point. How does everybody feel about in the public benefit paragraph here, instead of saying all projects must be based within the Poolesville corporate limits, something to the effect of, in most cases, only projects based within the Poolesville corporate limits will be considered, just to leave a little wiggle room in case there's something that like benefits a lot of residents and it's not in the corporate town limits. I know it's going to be
I
like
mean, technically, the fireworks,
1 in a million thing, but like,
right, are outside of
yeah,
the
but it gives
incorporated
a
town
little,
limits.
little
so.
bit of wiggle room, and it discourages just any old person from like,
Yeah, that's along the same lines as sports organizations are encouraged to.
Yeah.
fundraise.
Yeah, I
I don't
like
have-
that,
I
Martin.
don't
It
have a
gives us
problem with
just
that.
a little bit
Yeah,
of
it's a good
room.
idea.
yeah.
I like that.
Yep.
Do you get that fancy language?
Got it.
Otherwise, I think it looks great.
So I would say, just think about the language that we want to use for what that public-private partnership might look like.
I think that would be totally separate from this.
Yeah, it would be separate. What I'm thinking about is timing, and I'm thinking about requests that have already come in, and being able to, because if this vehicle to honor or even look at the request that's already been put in, all right, then what's going to be the next vehicle to even have that conversation? All right,
This
so-
would apply to 2026.
That's exactly what I'm
Right.
wondering too. I think 2025 we have covered already.
All right, so are we saying we
That's a-
leave 2025 in as is?
That's what I was thinking.
Because we all
Everybody else-
discussed that on
Right.
Saturday and made decisions about it, right?
So that's what I was thinking also.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Say that again, what are we doing? Sorry.
We already made decisions on 2025 applicants on Saturday.
Right. But we didn't
So this
approve.
would be for 2026.
Well, we also.
Like these requirements, correct?
Well,
It wasn't a hard.
because the other, I can't.
It feels
can't blank-
retroactive to go back and like set requirements.
Yeah, but you can't blanket,
after.
you can't blanket say that, because some of the applications can be submitted the day after we approve the budget. They could be, if there was money available, they can do that right away.
So while we
You're-
look at
You're
this
saying we
separate.
can use these for people who submit grants in between this and the next official, okay, yeah.
But this is new, right? Because we didn't, on the last one, you didn't have this 25,000 and above.
No, that was on the last one too.
Okay, I thought this new
This is
major,
the third, this is the third
this
time.
major
No,
grant.
no, you're saying, Ed, you're
Maybe
saying
capital
like last
grants.
year.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry, you're correct.
Right.
Yes.
No, that was as a result of our conversations, period, because we, with Riverworks asking for a big chunk of change.
One of my thoughts is if someone comes in FY '25 and asks for money, the answer is no, because we don't have it, but.
yeah.
Well, it can happen. It can happen. All
right.
Anything else, guys, on that? Any other changes, or, so Martin's language, Wade's got it. So you could just send it out in draft form again, one more time? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, good. We have a consensus on this, everybody?
Yep.
Okay, very good then. Let's draft it up, send it off again. We're not gonna, are we waiting until the next meeting to, can you send it out before the meeting?
You want to approve it as amended, and then I'll send it out to verify to make sure? That way, this will be the last time we see it, is that what you're getting to?
It's up to the commissioners. I don't mind seeing it one more time and,
Okay.
and then having one more discussion about it in a public meeting.
I'm me.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
do
All
it
right, yeah,
that way.
let's do that.
Okay.
Okay, very good. The two issues that won't go away, chickens and grants. Very good. So thank you for that, and we're ready for the town manager's report whenever you're ready.
Okay, only a couple things, really. Preston and his guys have been working, doing the ball fields, soccer fields, baseball fields for the upcoming seasons. They did, like Jeff said, replaced all the bollards in the parks. So busy and things are looking good. Water tank, we're hoping for the first week in April. Like today, it was so windy, they couldn't get up there and do anything, so
Really windy.
every time the, wind and rain happens, it sets them back a little bit. So still shooting for the first week in April. Montgomery County Pesticide Information Session is on March 20th here, 7 PM. So that's a good one. It's advertised on the website, and I think you put it out on your newsletter too.
Yep, mm-hmm,
So Wednesday night, 7 PM?
yep.
That's all I have. Any questions?
That's all you have for the town manager's report?
That is it.
I was just settling into, getting some work done, and you cut that short. Lord.
I didn't make you yawn this time.
No, you didn't. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. It's not time yet for that. All right, very good. Any other questions, any other discussion points? Anybody, Jay, Niles, anybody? You guys good to go? Staff, go ahead. Martin?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn. Sarah beat Jeff by just a millisecond on the second. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. All right, thanks, everybody.